An article, A Letter That Destroyed My Life, by Ehsan Sehgal. My first big mistake in my life was to come to the Netherlands, a European country. My second bigger mistake was to marry a liar and selfish Dutch married woman, and my third biggest mistake was to have children with her. After 37 years of marital life, she divorced and expelled me out of the home. The pain, tears, regret, and penalty have become the destiny of my life that I will have to bear until my last breath. After decades of desperation due to all the key institutions, police, and ministries and judicial organs of the Netherlands government that ignored and failed to investigate the incident that occurred in 1980, I now realize, it is more than difficult to get justice in those civilized societies that always deliver lectures, to those societies where justice does not exist. The incident that destroyed not only my career, future, education, health, and mental stability, it also broke my life. The pain, grief, and fear and horrible days and nights I bore on my entity all alone. No one can even imagine that I survived and still breathe with the silly hope that I will reach justice. Factually, the incident was not only an incident, but it was also an attempt of killing by the secret agencies of General Zia regime, criminal groups, and individuals as the devil practices, and black magic activities, which seems a ridiculous perception of those who do not believe in it. As a professional journalist, it was not arduous for me to investigate the incident that I faced and suffered from that for decades, but it became very complicated when I felt and realized that it was from multiple fronts and blocked my efforts. Consequently, I stayed helpless that it was impossible to investigate and trace such a crime that carried several and various masks. However, I reached a thought of 5 masterminds and groups, whether those were on a private or governmental mission. Whenever I replay my old memories, pictures that I observe very clearly to realize the reality, I see those scenarios with pure visuality that I felt strange feelings and reaction in my daily life after my arresting is a letter of my real brother-in-law, my elder sister's husband, an evil character beast, a cruel-minded tyrant, who destroyed my life, wiped out my inner smiles and happiness, who eliminated my career, future, and health, and stability and willpower to achieve goals that execute love, harmony, and welfare, for the entire humanity, just with a false letter to the Netherlands authorities on the 7th of January 1980. I remember the feeling of gravely fear and shock when my mother-in-law opened the door on a bell. I saw the several policemen in civil dress, who rushed towards our homeroom between 4 and 5 o'clock morning and arrested and brought me to the police station and prisoned me in a small room. I couldn't understand what was happening to me. However, I was sure that they would surely deport me that day. Fortunately, they called my lawyer. He perhaps warned the police about the illegal arrest. Thus, the same day, after several hours of detention and custody, they released me. Despite that, I continually felt that something wrong was to happen while I stayed active in writing poetry and articles. I observed that my wife was busy with some practices, which I ignored, whereas, I wrote a letter to my family that I was in danger, and inspiration tried to alert me, but I did not pay attention. I wish I could realize the game that was being played around me and with my life. During that situation, I invited a few Pakistani high-rank officials who were on the training course in the Netherlands. I see it as a crystal mirror that after lunch, I asked my wife to prepare tea. A Pakistani woman stood, smiling and saying, "I prepare Pakistani tea." Everyone appreciated and liked that. When the tea was ready, and that woman wanted to serve that, surprisingly, each one, whom I invited, declined to drink. When I also refused to drink, her husband slightly shouted to her, "You drink." Happened nothing. I could not realize what was at the bottom. However, I and she enjoy the tea. My wife didn't like Pakistani tea, so she also did not drink. When all guests left, my wife washed plates and cups. I was watching the news. After that, a romance film started, and my wife liked such films. I called her, "Come, dear, a marvelous drama on TV." She didn't reply. I stood up and went to the door and looked towards the kitchen. She was not there. I walked to the bedroom, and opened the door. She was lying on the bed and resting. I held her arm and said, "Come on, darling. A romance family film," replied, "I come, you watch." I said, "No, now," and then some terrible thing happened to my body, as someone had cut in my stomach with a knife, and after that, I felt hammer on the head. I shouted, with terrible fear, "Call the doctor." She didn't take that seriously. She looked calm and relaxed. But that moment had broken my life and tore all papers of my fortune. Consequently, I withdrew my political asylum, and automatically, I married her again as an official marriage, which I had never planned to do because I already married her as an Islamic marriage. It was everything for me. I became a loser and powerless, as a slave, as a prisoner. I was sure about black magic that my rivals, who were burning under the jealousy fire, played that in my life, practicing magic continuously since 1980. I couldn't trace that it was poison or chemical, which severely damaged my physical strength and spirit. I was breathing with the sensation of pain and flowing tears. I prayed day and night for such a life, which others were enjoying. I could not eat my favorite foods. An invisible attack occurred every month, which caused disability to bring my sweet dreams into a beautiful reality. Unfortunately, besides that incident of destruction, there was another tragedy that was waiting to victimize my life as. From 1980 till 2013, I lived and spent my life with a married woman, who had a son with her ex-partner. She was also several years older than me, whom I never trusted the entire of my life after the incident. Her family seemed very suspicious. Her elder brother was also a photographer-journalist. She was a terrible liar, and her nature kept hurting and saddening me in all dimensions. Despite that, I could not escape from her since she accepted Islam and became a Muslim. Thus, I fulfilled my promise to live with her my entire life, and for that, I fought with my whole family and faced painful consequences. I have written all details in my Urdu autobiography. I also tried to write it in English, but due to my health situation, I couldn't able to write it. Now, I intend to write some parts of it briefly, which will picture its full story. I shifted in September 2013 to a new apartment and started as a loser in another life, but alone that I was not familiar with that, where a new pain was waiting for me. Divorce was not the last tragedy. During the divorce, I wrote a handwritten letter, consisting of 7 pages about conspiracies of Indian diplomats and intelligence agencies, which I sent to the Chief Justice of Pakistan Chaudhry Iftikhar and Chief of Army Staff Parvez Kiani. As a result, I became the victim of the hired ones of the Pakistani intelligence agencies on all my social media profiles in various filthy, trickery, and spying ways that harassed me too much, whereas, I was already in the burden of pain of divorce with 37 years of tragedies. They played the game of beasts and caused me biological 4-stage incurable metastatic prostate cancer, and then they all disappeared. My life story full of tears carries the burden of 40 years, which I cannot express only in words. There is a long row of tragedies. 2020 also stayed in the hands of devils, who attempted to wipe out from social media in all corners, but failed. However, Indian, Pakistani, and KD and his gangs of evils hired by the intelligence agencies or private gangsters succeeded to delete an article about me on Wikipedia page, where wiki evils helped them to achieve their devilish goals. Whereas, they also published false news to blacken my character, and defame me, and cited that unreliable link to the Urdu Wikipedia article about me. All fronts seem against me for my truth, fairness, and humanity. I stay confused and unable to decide that Pakistani, Indian, Dutch or one else is busy and involved in this devilish game. Neither those authorities execute fairness, nor European media consider that seriously. I am alone to bear and face all that with the grace of Almighty God, waiting for a miracle and honest ones, who would feel my pain.